Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout out to
Something else.
something else, Daddy.
This is Nickel Matara, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to Something Else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Arya.
And welcome to episode number 163 of Something Else. Feast your ear holes on this week's episode as we take a look at Mid-South Wrestling and Memphis Wrestling from allegedly February 4th, 1984. My name is Arya, and joining me, as always, is the mid-card Jimmy Uso to my main event Jay Uso. It's Trae. Trae, how Uso are you feeling today?
It was so crazy, I guess.
I gotta say, as the queen of bad predictions, I finally got one right. And the funny thing is, like, I half got talked out of it. Because, I'd been saying since November, because like Jey Uso had been getting these massive pops every week. And I noticed it specifically at Survivor Series when they did the Bloodline match and everyone got their own entrance and Jay's pop was bigger than Roman's or CM Punk's. I'm like, he should win the title at WrestleMania. And I guess technically he hasn't done that yet, but I have amended my prediction. I did amend my prediction to him winning the Rumble a few weeks ago. And sure enough, he did. And like when it got down to like six people, like during the match, I'm like he's not gonna win, but Jesus Christ, it's nice that he's gonna win. And then CM Punk got eliminated, and I'm like, who else could it be? Because Cena, it seemed pretty obvious it was gonna be Cena at the Elimination Chamber. But even with that at the back of my head, I'm like, they may still just go with him as a safe thing and do Cena versus like, I don't know, fucking Logan Paul at the Elimination Chamber show. But nope. Jey Uso won, and as the one human being on the planet who predicted it, I celebrate it.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of this run for main event Jey Uso, but based on everything I've seen, I gotta applaud him. I gotta applaud the Booker for you know it feels like he actually earned it. Like he got
Yeah.
over organically, and he it makes it feel like it's a meritocracy. You like to see it. You like to
Yeah.
see somebody do the work and get rewarded for it. So I
And,
applaud the decision.
and I was like, there's a lot of things you can point to because Jimmy, like, hopefully Jimmy is, got his head straight, but like Jimmy has been a bit of a fuck up. Like he's the one that kept getting DUIs. He's the one that, like, when his last DUI, he did the "Don't you know who I am" thing when he got pulled over, and it's like Jay was the Mark Briscoe. You know, when Jay Briscoe said something stupid, Mark Briscoe also didn't get hired by WWE. Mark Briscoe also got banished from TNT and TBS because Jay Briscoe said something stupid. When Jimmy Uso did something stupid, Vince didn't use Jay for the longest time. Like there was that, I think it was 2015 that one of the Usos was injured and out for like a year, and the other one was put as an announcer on Superstars. It's like it was like, well, if we can't have both, we're not going to have either kind of thing. And this run started during how a lot of people started getting pushed during the pandemic when there was nobody else around. Jey Uso began getting a push with Roman, and then it became main event. Jey Uso became like the inside joke to get heat because he's obviously not a top guy. And slowly and surely, he, I don't know if you want to say he's a top guy now, but like he got over. Like it wasn't Daniel Bryan getting over. It wasn't, even LA Knight or whoever else, or like Sami Zayn a couple of years. It wasn't quite like that. But like this was something, even going back a year, that backlash match in France when like they were losing their shit for him during his entrance. It's like I refuse to believe there were any plans because like if there was a plan for Jey Uso to get the match at WrestleMania, Jey Uso wouldn't have wrestled Gunther at Saturday Night's Main Event last week. Because like when they announced that, that's what made me backtrack my prediction because I'm like, why would they do the match a week before the Royal Rumble if Jey Uso is going to get the match at WrestleMania? And but somewhere
Yeah.
along the way, you can say, oh, WWE never changes their mind. It's pretty fucking obvious WWE changes their mind with shit. Because, like, where the hell is Solo? Like, I just realized this morning that Solo wasn't in the Rumble. I'm like, where the hell is
I,
he?
I didn't even miss him, but you know why?
Yeah,
Because the guy that matters was in the fucking Rumble.
yeah.
Jacob
And
Fatu. It's all about.
yeah. And, like, I remember, like, it seemed like obvious. Like, okay, they're going to Jacob Fatu versus Roman. And then Braun Strowman's the one that threw him out. Like, okay. And then they did the angle with Punk and Rollins and Roman and all that shit. It's like, okay, something changed here somewhere. And Jey Uso was the beneficiary of something changing.
Yeah, I know. I saw people saying like Roman and Punk, and I'm like, I assume it's Roman and Jacob Fatu, and I assume it's gonna be Punk and Rollins in some kind of configuration.
I mean, when I originally said Jey Uso versus Gunther, because like everyone's like, oh, it's going to be Punk and Gunther. So I'm like, you could do Jey Uso versus Gunther and then do Roman versus Punk was what I thought they'd go with. And that might be what they do. I was thinking three-way, but I guess we'll see. Because I don't know, like Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns, did they even look at each other during the Rumble? Like, because I was expecting, especially when Jacob Fatu came in, okay, it's Titanic time. He's going to throw everybody out. And then Roman's going to come out and they're going to wrestle for 30 seconds and then eliminate each other and move from there. And
No,
that's not what happened. Like I said, I don't even know if they wrestled, if they even looked at each other during the match.
I thought they did a thing together. Didn't
Maybe
they
they
do
did, but
like
like it,
a yeah. Yeah,
maybe they
it
would
wasn't
like
very long. It wasn't very
it.
long, but it was definitely there, and it was awesome.
It didn't feel like they were really setting anything up, at least for the immediate future. Like I don't know, I was left last night thinking that at the earliest those two are going to go at it at SummerSlam. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the feeling I got while watching it. Because like
I
if
think
it
you're
was,
wrong.
Braun Strowman wasn't going to be the person eliminating Jacob Fatu, like in my mind. But
No, because no, that
mhm.
was just a little get back because Jacob Fatu demolished Braun Strowman at Saturday Night's Main Event. So Braun gets a little back by eliminating him from the Royal Rumble, and then that way they can have another singles match either like on TV or at like Elimination Chamber. I don't. Can Jacob
I,
Fatu go to Canada? I don't know, but
I have no idea. See, I looked at
that
that more like,
I see.
mhm.
No, I assumed that was setting up either a TV match or a match at Elimination Chamber, and that the Mania match is Jacob Fatu, and Roman.
I looked at the original Jacob Fatu Braun match last week like the Vince McMahon way of thinking that when you're getting somebody ready for a main event at WrestleMania, not the main event, but a main event at WrestleMania, that they have to beat the giant. And like
Yeah.
WWE doesn't have too many giants right now. And so Braun Strowman is pretty much the big guy until almost floats back across the ocean. which he kind of already has, or he's supposed to be soon anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we're talking a lot about non Mid-South Memphis stuff for a show. We got a lot to talk about here. Because yeah,
Yeah.
we've thanks to Trae, we found the Memphis show. And then thanks to Trae, I found the right Memphis show. Because what
I
ended
hope
up
we watched.
happening,
I hope we ended up watching the same show.
I'm pretty sure we did, because at least we referenced the ending. At least I referenced the ending angle, and I think you got it there. But yeah, so Memphis, I think everyone kind of knows this, but the Memphis territory was always weird. It's in that the city of Memphis was a week ahead of everyone else in the territory. So the show that would air in Memphis live Saturday morning at 11 o'clock on Channel 5, that would air in every other city a week later. So on February 11th, Evanston, Indiana got the show that aired live in Memphis on February 4th. And you can see where the problem comes in. Because I looked up the Memphis wrestling show from February 4th, of 1984, and I got the show that, well, for lack of a better word, is last week's show. And I'll be honest, I was a little sad that we didn't get to talk about last week's show instead. Although I get to use a lot of the same material, so that's gonna work itself out. But we'll get to it because there's a couple things with last week's Memphis show I want to go over, but then we'll dive into Memphis. But first, let's kick things off the way we normally kick things off. Mid-South. Let's go to. Oh my God, I just read my notes. This is going to be fun. Let's go to Boyd Pierce and Bill Watts. We're going to preview this week's show, and they're going to talk about our bracket because the TV title tournament is starting. Let's go to Boyd and Bill.
Wrestling fans, and welcome to this week's edition of Mid-South Wrestling Television. I'm your host, Boyd Pierce, and we have a lot of exciting action signed by matchmaker Grizzly Smith, and it'll be the first week, the first match of the Mid-South Television Championship Tournament. The final winner will get the gold medal and a $10,000 check. It all starts this week, along with a lot of other exciting matches. The man to tell you about it is the president of Mid-South Sports and our expert commentator, Cowboy Bill Watts. Bill, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Boyd. An exciting night, and Grizzly Smith has selected, he and Charlie Lay have selected the 10 entries. There's only going to be 10 entries in this television tournament. It'll last for 9 weeks, and Oral Link, our director, has taken a picture of the bracketing, and as you can see, the first week will be Terry Taylor and Nature Boy Buddy Landell. The second week was scheduled to be Hacksaw Dugan and Masayo Ito. We'll talk about that later. The third week, the Junkyard Dog and Nikolai Volkov. The fourth week, Hacksaw Butch Reed, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. The fifth week, Magnum TA and Crusher Darso. And then, as you can see, the bracketing goes on. The buys were chosen by a flip of the coin as far as the slots on that. Goes out to 9 weeks. The champion, there you see the check, the medal, because it's an Olympiad year. The Mid-South decided to award a medal for it and $10,000. So we're going to have a lot more about that. And again, going back to why Hacksaw Dugan, he will have to be scratched apparently because there was a new match, a very vicious, brutal type of match that we will not show much of in good taste, but it was against Crusher Darso. It's called a coal miners match, and it happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I talked with Darso about that match earlier. Let's look at that. In order to be a great in professional wrestling, you've got to be a tremendous individualist, a very bizarre person. And anytime there's something unusual, generally professional wrestling is where it's been pioneered. Sputnik Monroe pioneered the way with the Brass Knucks Trophy match. The American Dream Dusty Rhodes invented the bull rope match. Hacksaw Jim Dugan, who being from his background on the East Coast, knew a lot about coal mining, and he came up with a coal miners match. With this glove, with the metal fist, was suspended on a 10-foot steel pole connected to the ring post, whereas the winner, or the man that could first climb the post, could get this glove and use it to end the match any way he needed to. Hacksaw Jim Duggan won the match, but lost the war.
Well, Bill Watts, all I want to do, I didn't even care about the match, really. All I want to do is I want to put Jim Duggan out. And all you people are going to see that I did put Jim Duggan out. I beat him at his own game. He invented this match, and I beat Jim Duggan. And I want you people to see what it's all about here.
Well, I want to say one thing. We have only found a very short segment of this film that we can show in good taste. This was a very brutal match, an unusual match, a match Dugan had asked for, and we'll just show you a small excerpt of it, but not very much. Let's roll that now.
All right. So let's rewind a little bit. So they announced the TV title tournament and announced the first match is going to happen. And I wrote, who was in the tournament, much less what's the first match that we're going to see on today's show. And then we got a poster board on TV. And okay, I pressed pause and I began screaming while writing down, this is the worst ever. They're not even they're not even zooming in on the fucking thing. It's a poster board with some shit written down. It's not even written down so you could read what the hell it says. I'm like, this handwriting is awful. Turns out the handwriting isn't awful, just that when they fucking Director Oral Link needs to be fired because he put this on TV without figuring out that nobody could fucking read it, and they eventually had to zoom in. But before they zoomed in, I pressed pause on the screen and I'm looking at it. And now, admittedly, I'm a bit nearsighted, but for fuck's sake, I can see something on my big ass television, but I could not tell you who the fuck was in this tournament. So I wrote down what I thought it said for this before they zoomed in, which, should negate me telling you this, but I spent time trying to figure out what that said. So I want to tell you what I thought the tournament bracket said. Are you ready for
Okay.
the brackets of this 10-man tournament?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I thought it said. Tommy Jammer versus Crush Bar Calm. Kerwin Lesson versus Pepsi Joe. Tom Seaver's son versus Koala Taylor. Herman Ayers versus Solomon Cranston. And Maurice P.E. versus Conrad Conway. Now, the actual matches, because they eventually zoom in on the board so you can actually read it. The actual matches are Terry Taylor versus Nature Boy Buddy Landell, Hacksaw Duggan versus Masao Ito, which, as you heard, will not happen, Junkyard Dog versus Nikolai Volkov, Hacksaw Reed versus Jim the Anvil Neidhart, which was misspelled, and Magnum TA versus Crusher Darceau. Okay,
I like your collection of names. It sounds like one of those, the old generic Fire Pro games where they would have real wrestlers, but they'd have to make up fake names for them. That's what.
Yes.
That's what I like. I like Pepsi Joe and
Tom Seaver's son.
I need you to send me that list because it's a fantastic alternate reality wrestler name list.
I think we need to go into a TEW here and start up a new promotion with these guys.
Yeah.
I just love that on the marker board when they eventually zoomed in that they misspelled Neidhart. That was just tremendous.
You can't tell me that Solomon Cranston isn't an NXT name.
I mean, Sami Callihan was Solomon Crow.
Yes, he was. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
He wasn't there for very long, was he?
No, he was there a year, I think. Now, I'll admit, the one that I obviously figured out, even though that's not how I read it, was Magnum TA. Because, I mean, Maurice P.E. Who the hell else would Maurice P.E. be? But, every other person, I could not even fathom a guess who that was supposed to be. Oh,
I'm
Lord.
imagining a wrestler named Maurice P.E. and he's a disgruntled gym teacher. Like he wears fucking red basketball shorts, like gym shorts, and a white polo.
So he's Coach Rick Miller just with the red shorts instead of blue shorts from the Goldbergs.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know the reference, but sure.
You never saw the Goldbergs?
No,
That
I
that's a
haven't.
that's a fun show.
Is
Like
it?
honestly, yeah, there was a lot of good sitcoms going on in the tens. So you had that, you had Superstore, that was a good show. Like Superstore is actually a great show. Like that's one of the, if you haven't watched that, I'd highly recommend it. It's
Yeah, I
available
hear a
on
lot of
Peacock.
good. Yeah, I heard a lot of good things about that one.
It's like the shows that like when I was super depressed during the pandemic and I had nothing else to do, like those were some of the shows that I binge watched and got into. So
Cool. Awesome.
yeah. Elsewhere, Jim Dugan apparently had a brand new type match, a coal miners match with Crusher Darsow, which was too graphic even for television. And we saw we heard the promo with Crusher Darsow, and so it's apparently Duggan's fault that they had that Sting Jake Roberts match because Duggan's the one that came up with this damn thing. Um, uh, Duggan apparently got the glove when they showed it. I say apparently because they couldn't even bother to have a good spotlight on so you could see the pole. Like Duggan just dove into darkness and he came back with a glove. And he knocked Darsow the fuck out for the win. After the match, he was attacked by someone who was apparently Nikolai Volkov. Darsow got the glove and allegedly hit Dugan with it. I say allegedly because that's when they cut away. And that is why Jim Dugan is not in our TV title tournament for $10,000 and a medal. So,
It's most unfortunate.
yes. I'll be honest, like outside of Mid-South and that Sting Jake Roberts match, has there ever been any other coal miners glove matches? Like it's a gimmick that Mid-South uses a lot, well, a lot-ish over the next few years. But like I don't remember anybody else ever bringing in that gimmick. I guess,
Didn't
well,
they
oh
just
Jesus
have one
Christ.
in Smoky
Yes,
Mountain?
yes, yes, yes. That's why I said, oh Jesus Christ, because I suddenly remembered it was on Smoky Mountain.
The
Well, that also makes sense
other
because who run?
show, the other show
Yeah,
that we review every week.
I just did two TNA shows. Sorry, my head was somewhere else.
Yeah, that'll do things to your memory.
I can tell you that there was not a coal miners glove match on TNA. That's probably the only stipulation Vince Russo never booked, and
He
he's
did
a
everything
fan
else
of
on a pole
gloves.
though.
Yeah, I'm sorry, a fan of poles. I said a fan of gloves. Maybe he's a fan of gloves too. Who knows? Uh,
Vince Russo,
so
fan of poles.
and gloves, just not together as one. Um, so then you just heard me list all the names that I thought were in the TV title tournament, and you may think I'm being smart or funny when I tell you the name of the wrestler in the next match. I am not making this up. Crusher Darsow went to the ring next to wrestle a man who I swear to God was announced as Tommy Hagee. Who?
Tommy Hagee, yeah.
Who? Apparently, Tommy Hagee has been wrestling since 1979, and according to Cage Match, I had to laugh when I saw this. He once beat somebody named Hoot Gibson, and Hoot Gibson is
Oh my
not
god.
Robert Gibson.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Ah, when we get our time machine, we got to go watch Tommy Hagee against Hoot Gibson.
and go to Hoot Gibson afterwards. Like, do you know about Robert Gibson? Uh, he's wrestled so infrequently that a 45-year career takes up less than 100 matches on Cage Match. And his most recent match, Tommy Hagee's that is in 2024.
Oh
Let's
wow.
just, yeah, let's just say I
I
had
mean,
more
he's still
fun.
taking. Does that
Sorry,
mean
go
he's
ahead.
still taking bookings?
We could get him on the show
Can
if he's
we?
still alive. I mean, I don't know. I haven't reached out to every person I reach out for an interview wants $100 from me. So you know, I'll be honest though, I don't blame them because apparently other people do give these people money. So why the hell not ask me for some? Anywho,
Yeah.
he lost to the Canadian backbreaker. Oh well, poor Tommy Heggie. All right.
Peggy, we hardly knew ye.
Yep. So we have a lot of audio to play, so I'm not going to bother playing this next part. But Watts recaps what happened last week with the Midnight Express and Jim Cornette and their, and I quote, latest act of terrorism before showing us the whipping angle and the two TA promo from last week. You think Jim Cornette will admit to taking part in terrorism here?
Uh, well,
Maybe not.
depending
Who
on the
knows?
definition, he might be proud of it.
I say he probably is a little proud of it, no doubt. He's probably a little proud at least. We then get tag team champions Mr. Wrestling 2 and Magnum TA versus Tom Lentz, who played a little football, and Jerry Gray, who apparently didn't. Apparently, this really is the debut of Jerry Gray. He's going to be here for a few months and then come back in '85 for a few months. And suddenly, don't ask me what the hell made me think about this. Maybe you'll tell me that something happened that would trigger my thought. But I was like, wait, did we miss David Sammartino's annual match? And I bring this up because last year David Sammartino was here. And when I looked it up on Cage Match, he had like one match in '83 in Mid South and then one match in '84. And this time when I looked it up, I think Cage Match fucked up because he's allegedly on the show that we missed on January 7th. But when I looked at the results,
Yeah.
he was not in that this was not the right show. Because they show he lost to Ted DiBiase, who's not even in the territory. And elsewhere on the show was Marty Lundy losing to Dick Murdoch and Matt Bourne beating Buddy Landell. Like, first of all, that sounds like a hell of a match. But secondly, I think Cage Match done fucked up, and there was no David Sammartino this year. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I think those same results are in the Mark James record book, I think.
I mean, I think whomever is the originator of it, whether it's Mark James, Cage Match, somebody else, they
Made a
have it wrong.
mistake, obviously. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what the origin of it is.
I think someone just put the wrong year because that's definitely a January '83 Mid South show. It's like, but yeah. Anyway, TA pin Lentz with a little belly to belly suplex. And yes, every time Tom Lentz is ever going to be on this show, I will reference the fact that he cut a random promo one time talking about how he played a little bit of football.
It seemed like he was like something, and then he's just like a job guy.
It was so random. Like I was like, oh wow, here's a new guy. He's gonna get a little bit of a push. Like, okay, he's wrestling. Who was it, Duggan? Like, okay, he's not gonna beat Duggan, but like, he got promo time, so he's gonna be part of the show under a new booker. And no, he isn't.
No, he's not.
Yeah. The most interesting part was us trying to find Tom Lentz and me stalking the wrong Tom Lentz on Facebook for a while. Imagine if I would have added that Tom Lentz and tried to invite him onto the show.
Yeah,
like that
and
time.
we just like.
Remember like that time that podcast interviewed the wrong Dave Meltzer? Do you remember that?
Yes, I knew exactly what you were about to reference. The other Dave Meltzer.
I just love that, and it was around the Super Bowl, so hey, it's timely. Watts pitches it to a match from Oklahoma City with Butch Reed versus Jim Neidhart in front of 12,000 people. The finish saw Crusher Darsow throw Reed a football helmet, and Reed use it to spear Neidhart. So we finally got our answers to who the babyface and who the heel is. Because Crusher Darsow is not going to help babyfaces out. Then we
Maybe
get
he's confused.
he's polyslamorous. You know?
Yeah, and he's ambidextrous. He can be a babyface and a heel.
We come back to the Shreveport, Louisiana, the Irish Deal Boys Club for Jim Neidhart versus Larry Santana. Who? No, the other one. There's a joke that no one got. Apparently Larry Santana. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Larry Santana is a young Larry Santo. I wrote here yeah.
Our Larry Santo?
Yeah. Yeah.
The Black Ninja Larry Santo?
Yeah. Smoky Mountain WCW jobber Larry Santo.
This fellow from Huntsville was wearing LSU colors, so I assume he was the scourge of his family. By the way, Bill pointed out for us that the pasty white Larry Santana was no relation to Tito Santana. Thanks for that.
Not even that. Not even that. He said he is not related by kin to the great wrestling star Santana. He could not remember Tito Santana's first name.
Yes.
And I wrote, take a shot every time Watts references his kids, as Micah has apparently been working out with Jim Neidhart. Micah, the one member of the Watts family who does not make it into the wrestling business, to the best of my knowledge.
So the smartest one of all of them.
Yes. Although who knows? Maybe he would have been the NWA World Champion, or he had a great feud with Mike Von Erich. You know that apparently before the end of Watts and WCW, it wasn't just that he was pushing his son to the moon, that he wanted to bring in Bryant Anderson, Oatley's son, who's going to appear in Smoky Mountain soon, and basically push those two as the next two top baby faces. And you're going to see Bryant Anderson in a few months, and you tell me if you thought that Bryan Anderson a year earlier could have been a top babyface in WCW.
I'm guessing that's going to be unlikely.
Who knows? Everyone has different opinions. Maybe you'll love him. Neidhart, by the way, won with a Samoan drop.
Yes, he did.
All right. So Masao Ito versus the perpetual Alabama junior heavyweight champion Mike Jackson. Apparently, the win bonus for this match is enough to deal with bleeding due to the throat hold. And we find out that apparently Lanny Poffo is going to replace Jim Duggan in next week's TV title tournament. And I wrote, he's going to replace Jim Duggan in next week's TV title tournament where he will defeat Ito by disqualification. That's not a spoiler, just me guessing how it'll work out. And
the number one standby, Lanny Poffo.
J.J. Dillon, who is all over both shows despite not being on either of them, sent Ito here for some reason that it will maybe explained at some point in the future. And Ito slaps on a throat hold for the disqualification. In ran Pee Wee Anderson to get his ass kicked, but Pee Wee somehow survived without an ass kicking. I was surprised.
And then Boyd Pierce says his tactics brought him another victory. No, it did not. He got disqualified. Right. By the way, Ito, who was in the TV title tournament, continues to have won 0 matches on TV.
I'm gonna say, I think he's 0-3 now.
Yeah.
All right. So, if wrestling was real, shouldn't Mike Jackson now have his spot in the TV title tournament?
Yes.
Whoever else
he should.
Whoever else he lost by disqualification to, like
the Alabama junior heavyweight champion and the Mid-South television champion,
world-class television champion Brian Adidas. He just has a problem wrestling local champions. Maybe he'll be better next week against Lanny Poffo, who is not a champion anywhere.
He's the champion in my eyes.
Yes. He's not even the champion of large penises on this show. All right.
You know, something about penises being championed. This here Terry Taylor photo shoot.
Yes. I'm gonna play the intro here. It's quick. It's 20 seconds. Bill Watts is gonna pitch it to a tremendous music video. Let's go to that now.
I guess when you got it, you know you got it, and Terry Taylor knows he's got it. He's a good-looking youngster. He's captivated all the ladies' hearts in Mid-South Wrestling. He was at a photo session the other day, and Mid-South took the cameras along and had a lot of fun, and so did Terry. Let's join that now to Freeze Frame by the Jay Giles Band.
All right. So apparently Terry Taylor has got it, and no, he has got it. And we get a Terry Taylor modeling shoot, which was interspersed with him doing wrestling moves. Sadly, he was doing the wrestling moves in the ring and not to the photographer, who made him repeatedly take his clothes on and off.
This video was very captivating to me when I was
Really?
partaking in the Iranian tobacco.
The Iranian tobacco?
The
Don't let Jim
Iranian
Duggan hear
tobacco.
about that. Jim Duggan has a problem with all that Iranian oil money, and you know, but I
That's
guess it isn't oil money,
well,
it's tobacco money.
you know where that comes from, right? The Iron Sheik. I can't remember. It was a story that Conan told, and I can't remember if he was there. It's like, but Iron Sheik was on a plane smoking, some herb, and the stewardess was asking him, what he was doing. He said, "Oh no, 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 dude, baby, it's Iranian tobacco."
He maybe he would have shared his medicine with her if she would have asked.
I bet.
One thing is, like, Terry Taylor is a good-looking man, and I I don't know,
Yeah,
like, he probably could have been a model if he actually tried, or if he wanted to be, you know?
yeah. He's
I,
I don't know. He was good looking. He was a good wrestler. I don't know why it never quite worked out for him.
I don't know, it's like he didn't really have a strong enough personality, and it's like it didn't help him that even if you take out, the Red Rooster, he was the computerized man of the 1990s. Then he was the tailor-made man. He was terrific Terry Taylor. And then he was still. I just watched a random WCW Saturday Night from 1994 that you're going to see soon. He has a hell of a match with Mr. Regal for the TV title.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
but
know you're.
Terry Taylor
I know,
was really good wrestler too.
yeah. I know you're surprised to hear that Terry Taylor and Mr. Regal had a good match, but
Yeah,
I swear it happened.
yeah. At a certain point, I guess he just became office and gave up.
So we came back from the video shoot, and Bill Watts says, "Here's somebody who doesn't like him at all, Jim Ross." Now, I'm fairly certain Watts meant instead that he was pitching it to JR to introduce Nikolai Volkov in the next match, but that's not quite how it sounded. Sounded like JR has a problem with Terry Taylor.
Well, I'm sure he has at some point.
Everyone had a problem with Terry Taylor at some point. I mean, that 98, 99 where Terry Taylor kept jumping back and forth between the WWF and WCW, like,
Yeah,
why?
I just
And
one I
he
remember.
mhm.
Go ahead.
He's the one that brought the Public Enemy into the WWE, so
Oh,
you can
really?
blame him for everything. Yeah.
No. Wow. Wonder if he ever got Tim Horner booked anywhere. Can we blame him for that too?
He gave Tim Horner the idea to have a crippled child hold the Smoky Mountain belt.
Oh, that bastard. That bastard.
But by the way, my friend Lauren, who is not a wrestling fan, but obviously, she knows the people that everybody in the world knows. She just messaged me saying, Hulk Hogan, God damn it, I'm now coughing again on these shows. Hulk Hogan really does have the skin of a hot dog.
Yeah, he does. Very observant, Lauren.
Oh, Lord. Um, all right, so we go to Nikolai Volkov versus Joe Savoldi. Volkov sang the Russian national anthem, which last week turned one of his opponents into Terry Taylor, but apparently that was a 1 week issue, and Joe Savoldi was not magically transformed into the tailor-made man. 30 minutes into the show, and what feels like the first time in 2 months, Watts brings up that the Junkyard Dog as the North American champion, which,
Huh.
yeah.
Somebody remembered.
Yes. Now, by the way, I know this isn't something you would know because this was from a few years ago, but one of the angles 2 years ago was that you could not hold two singles title belts in Mid-South because the responsibilities of being a singles champion was too much that you could not fulfill all of your duties if you hold two of them, which is why when Junkyard Dog, I think, was the Louisiana champion. He won the North American title from Bob Roop. He vacated the Louisiana title and then had the match where Ted DiBiase turned heel to win the North American title. So Junkyard Dog went in days from having two belts to zero. But that's the established Mid-South rules, which makes you question why Junkyard Dog is in the TV title tournament for a medal and $10,000, because if he wins, he just has to forfeit it anyway.
It's not a
But
belt. It's a medal.
well, I guess there you go. There's your there's something there. Although they do try to say they cover it up by trying to say that he just doesn't want the Russians to win. Which, again, if you're an American, you're like it's the land of the free and yada yada yada. Why isn't Nikolai Volkov allowed to be proud of his country here in the land of the free?
Plus, like if Dog wins, even if he has to forfeit the championship, he still gets the $10,000, right?
True, true. He will get that check for $10,000. Okay, all right, we'll give it to him. Dog wants the money, so good for him. I wonder though
Yeah.
if that happened, he gets a check and he has to forfeit the title. If the next tournament will also be for $10,000, because then you're just setting yourself up for failure. Because Dog may just keep entering the damn tournament to try to keep getting the $10,000.
See, that's when you switch to drawing names out of a hat.
There you go. And then, as luck would have it, Junkyard Dog's name is pulled out of a hat. Terry Taylor versus Nature Boy Buddy Landell in the first round of the television tournament for a medal and $10,000. I'd ask how Buddy Landell qualified with 2 wins, but as we mentioned, Masao Ito qualified. Oh, by the way, we never mentioned this. I didn't even write down the winner, but I'm assuming Volkov won with the backbreaker.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, great. Yeah, I did not even write down the result of the match, but yeah. Good old Mid-South. At least we can predict what happened. Watts said, like I said, Landell has 2 wins, and Lanny Poff was an alternate with 1 win, and Watts said that neither man has lost in Mid-South TV, keeping in mind that not that long ago, Buddy Landell was a jobber on the show for about a year. With that said, I'll say this was a damn good TV match. I think it only went like 5 or 6 minutes, but shockingly, when you put 2 good wrestlers in the ring and give them a little bit of time to have a good match, you get a good match. Terry wins with a 5-arm to win the first round and to move into the next bracket.
Watts talked about his desire to see the Junkyard Dog sing the national anthem, and that just sounds like a terrible idea.
There's a lot of terrible ideas on this show. Just wait. I think either next week or the week after is a really terrible idea, and I can't wait
Well,
for you to witness it.
I can't decide if this was a terrible idea or a good idea. Playing the exact same collection of clips with a different song.
See, I thought this was the deleted scenes from the first two videos. It's our weekly Rock and Roll Express music video, this time set to Led Zeppelin's Rock and Roll. They basically took all the clips from the first 2 weeks and made a third music video of them. And spoiler alert, this is not the last one we're gonna see.
Wow. That's
Yes.
kind of a brilliant way to be lazy.
Is it lazy though when they're making new music videos every week? Because like even if it's the same clips, they're putting them in different order. And
I
I gotta tell you, from experience, making a best of show is harder than just doing a goddamn show.
Yeah, I believe you, especially when you're making a best of our pre-show ramblings.
Yes. But you think wouldn't have been that hard, just take everything and put it one after another, but oh well. So after the Rock and Roll Express video, the show comes to an end with Bill Watts explaining the TV title tournament. Let's go to Bill Watts, who's going to explain this to us and our small, tiny little brains.
We had an exciting opening event with Terry Taylor against Nature Boy Buddy Landell. Terry Taylor won. He advances in the bracketing. The next time he'll wrestle will be the 6th week of the tournament. Next week, Hacksaw Dugan has been scratched. Leaping Lanny Poffo versus Masayo Ito. The winner of that will advance out here for the 6-week matchups. Then the Junkyard Dog the 3rd week against Nikolai Volkov. Hacksaw Butch Reed the 4th week against Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Magnum TA the 5th week against Crusher Darso. And you can see it all leads to one goal. This medallion, the Olympic-style medallion, and $10,000. And we'll be back next week, and Boyd Pierce, you have more action for us.
Thank you, Bill. And next week now we'll have the second round of the Mid-South tournament for the television champion, and our guest commentator will be the Junkyard Dog. Also a fantastic special against the first, it'll be Magnum TA. We'll see him at home relaxing, and we'll see him wrestling. In 2 weeks, the Popper Girl Wrestlers will be here. It all adds up to a lot of action this spring, so we invite you to stay with us. This week, a tremendous program, a lot of it due to our producer, engineer, Oral Link. John Stokely was our engineer, Paul White and Ricky Cottingham doing the cameraman, and you folks at home, the greatest of all, because you tuned us in. Till next week, for commentator Bill Watts, I'm your host, Boyd Pierce, saying goodbye, everybody, from Mid-South Wrestling.
I always loved that the Big Show is a cameraman here in Mid-South Wrestling. Um, I, I I just love that if we're going to see this like every week, that not only do we have a 10-man tournament, which I want to keep emphasizing because again, you do an 8-man tournament, you do a 16-man tournament. 10 is dumb and makes you do weird things with the bracket. But anyway, so instead of saying the next match in the first round or whatever, every match is a new round apparently. But so next week is going to be the second round, even though it's a first round match. And the week after that's going to be a third round, even though it's also a first round match, and so on and so forth.
I don't understand this tournament.
But it's for a medal and $10,000.
I understand that.
Oh, yeah, this is like, I swear it's like they've never done a tournament before. Like they're like so confused by the whole thing.
Yeah.
Next week we're gonna have a special. Magnum TA is gonna be at home and in the
Huh.
ring, and in 2 weeks is gonna be the popular girl wrestlers, but not the popular little girl wrestlers. You
Aw.
know, these are the regular sized girl wrestlers. And of course, normally we give credit to matchmaker Grizzly Smith, but apparently this week we got to give a shout out to Oral Link, who's the reason why this show is so exciting. Not Bill Dundee, but Oral Link is the reason why this show is great.
Oral Link.
I just love that people name their children in the South Oral. You know,
Yeah,
right? Oral
not this century.
Oral Link, Oral Roberts, Oral Hershiser. What the hell's with you people in the South? Like,
Did you ever
that 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 could have just covered a whole lot of shit.
watch a show My Name is Earl?
No, I never did.
Oh, it was a great show.
Anyway, what made you bring that up?
I don't know because you were saying oral, but my brain was turning it into Earl.
Ah, so my mother, the one who once said the porn shop when she meant the pawn shop, um, her accent would have you also say that the name of that show was My Name is Oil.
Well,
Yes.
that's
All
that's funny.
all right. So we're going in the opposite direction. Normally go west, but we're going to go east a little bit to go to Memphis. And as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, I started by watching the wrong show. I watched the Evanston, Indiana edition, which is really the January 28th version. And I deleted most of what I wrote, but I had to keep a few things in here to note. First of all, at the end of a Jos LeDuc promo, an entity appeared. This thing had
An
his head
entity.
half shaved, he had his face painted, he was wearing chains, and he was named King Konga, not Tonga with a T, not Kong like a mythical ape in a movie, Konga. And I found out
Conga.
later, yeah, and it's the fucking barbarian. It became more
The
obvious when I watched this week's show that it was the barbarian, but when he
Bob Marion?
appears, yeah, when he appears on last week's show, I'm like, that's the fucking Bob Arian? Then JJ Dillon, I still didn't understand this, and even this week they didn't really explain it that well. JJ Dillon mailed Jimmy Hart a picture of him, JJ Dillon, a cassette player, and a tape. And on the tape, JJ Dillon told Jimmy Hart not to fuck with JJ's wrestlers. I
Okay.
Yeah. There was a commercial for Waterbed Land, who is selling waterbeds on a 90-day deferred payment plan. You can't afford to not
Oh.
buy a waterbed from Waterbed Land.
It,
We
it
had
it was the South. It was the South in the 80s. Having a waterbed was up there with like having a car. You've got to. If you're any kind of person, you've got to have a waterbed.
then we get a match which sounds like a completely different match when I tell you the participants. The Bruise Brothers and Norvell Austin with Jimmy Hart took on Art Cruz, Robert Reed, and Stagger Lee. First of all, the Bruise Brothers are not the Harrises, but instead it's Dream Machine and Pork Chop Cash, who, according to Wikipedia, broke up in 1983. Again, this is 1984 that we're watching this match. I personally was surprised that Wikipedia was incorrect. And Stagger
The
Lee
hell
is
you
not
say?
Junkyard Dog. It's Coco Ware. And unless
Yeah.
I missed something, at no point during these two shows did they mention why Coco Ware is under a mask, because they're not even hiding the fact that it's Coco Ware. Um,
Yeah.
at
I don't know if there was a reason for it or not. I just know that Coco was Stagger Lee in Memphis. Maybe they just saw it. Somebody saw it in Mid South and decided to try it.
So after the match, because the heels won, after the match, the beating continued, and all three of them were beating on Stagger Lee. Again, all three of them, the Bruise Brothers and Norvell Austin, were all beating up Stagger Lee. And then Norvell Austin randomly decided that, okay, we've beaten him up enough, it's time to leave. And the Bruise Brothers did not agree, so they kept beating up Stagger Lee. And Norville Austin's like, "You motherfucker! I told you it's time to stop." And he turned babyface, and is now in a team with Coco Ware. on an angle that started with him beating up Coco Ware.
Okay, yeah, I saw the follow up, obviously,
Yeah,
where they're a team. I
yeah,
didn't realize that had happened.
yeah. And that was last week. And it's like it like so much stuff changed in these two shows. I'm like, I had to double check to make sure I was watching the right show again because I'm like, this aired 1 week later, and it's like a completely different era of Memphis. And then, oh my God, this is when I was mad that this isn't the show you watched because you would have laughed at this. So the final match, the expiration of time match, they ran out. Like they had another match, it ended quickly, and like they ran out Jerry Lawler and Dutch Mantell versus a team called the Streetwalkers. Sadly, the
This,
Streetwalkers did not have names or cage match profiles. And
oh,
it gets better. Because Jerry Lawler and Dutch Mantell win this match against the Streetwalkers in 1 minute. And they're like, oh, this is the expiration of time match, but we're going to go to commercial and come right back. We go to commercial and come back, and there's a match that's about to happen. And do you want to know what match is about to happen?
what match is about
I,
to
sw-
happen?
I, I swear to God, Jerry Lawler and Dutch Mantell versus the Streetwalkers.
It, it was a continuation of the expiration of time, right?
Yes, because Dave Brown and Lance Russell read the clock wrong, and they thought the show was almost over, but there was still 10 minutes left in the show.
Yeah. Right. So typically in Memphis, an expiration of time match means something different than it does in Mid South. An expiration of time match means they wrestle for however much TV time is left, and the one that has the most falls wins.
Well, that's
Which made
what
it really confusing. Which made it really confusing on this show when they did an expiration of time match that
30
they
minutes
just
to
ended
go.
after one fall. They had to get to that. They had to get to that video because they were going to air that long Road Warriors match.
I wrote just when I thought I was going fucking crazy because there's Jerry Lawler and Dutch Mantell versus the Streetwalkers again. Dave Brown suddenly proclaimed that this is a best of 3 falls match. Like,
Oh
okay,
wow.
yes,
Okay, well that works too.
yes. So Lance Russell forced these guys to do a 75-second match, go to commercial, come back, and like, oh shit, we still have time, and make them wrestle again. I was I was so sad that the show was over because I wanted them to go to commercial, come back, and have a best 3 falls out of 5. Because yes, the Streetwalkers did not defeat Jerry Lawler and Dutch Mantell the second time either.
Well,
Lit-
the third time would have been the charm.
Legitimately, you see the look on my face when they come back from commercial. They're like, okay, we're going to have Jerry Lawler and Dutch Mantell versus the Streetwalkers. Like, what? The fuck happened? Oh, that was hilarious, and that was the wrong show. I was like, I don't know if I was mad because like I was happy because I wanted to see more of this, but I was not thrilled that I watched the wrong show.
I'm sorry.
Eh,
I
honestly, we should have communicated better.
We should have, because you sent me a link, like, because I asked you, "Hey, did you find the show?"
Yeah, because
Thinking that, like,
you
if you didn't have the show, I was gonna send it to you, and then you sent me the
yeah.
link, and I said okay, and I didn't look at it, and then
Mhm.
like, so I waited. So if I had just checked it immediately, we could have headed this off. But I waited
Mhm.
until after you had already watched the show that you had linked me to until I checked the link and saw that it was a different show.
Yeah. And to be honest, I really wanted to make you watch this show because we would have really had fun talking about this show even before that finish. But I'm like, at the end of the day, I watch a lot of wrestling, but you watch far more than I do. I'm like, okay, I got to take one for the team here and watch a second hour of Memphis. So,
Well,
so
this
let's
was still interesting to watch.
definitely. So let's go to, as I put it, Memphis Wrestling, February 4th, 1984, the real edition. Um, Now I got to tell you, despite the fact that we watched the real episode here, I think somebody took the two versions and spliced them together because at one point there's graphics on the screen that's saying the show is pre-recorded and to watch next week's show on Sunday, February 19th, which would be a
Oh.
week behind. So I think somebody was doing some editing and this is what we got. But I know it wasn't the Evans. I knew we weren't watching the primary Evanston show because we got a lot of Memphis ads, like for the show on Monday at the Mid-South Coliseum. But anyway, let's go to the intro of the show with Lance Russell and Dave Brown.
Hello again, everybody. Lance Russell and Dave Brown right along ringside with a house full of folks ready to go with another big championship wrestling. David.
Boy, I tell you what, today we have the Zambui Express in here in action. That's not all, though. We're going to have Jos LeDuc team with King Konga in a tag team match a little bit later on. We will also have six-man tag team action featuring the King, Jerry Lawler, Dutch Mantell, and Austin Idol, all of them on the same side of the ring. Indeed. All coming up.
All on one side of the ring. And we have some interesting videotape for you. Hope maybe you're going to enjoy it, but we're packed and jammed, so let's get started back in just a moment.
All right. So, in case you never saw the opening to a Memphis show, it's so delightfully quaint, is how I put it. It's like there's like a shadowy like wrestling statue that they spin around and just put the word wrestling up on the screen. And then speaking of quaint, we go to Lance and Dave, and it's like this is like one of the best announced teams in history, but it's like like if you were to watch, just show somebody who'd never watched old wrestling, that is a modern fan, if you made them watch this, they'd think this was like they were the worst announcers ever, because like their voices don't really raise up. They stay pretty much the same tone the entire show, but it's like it was perfect for what it was.
They're sportscasters.
Yeah. Like I don't know what Lance Russell really did in his life, but Dave Brown is a weatherman. Like legitimately. Dave Brown does the weather. And I mean, he sounds
Lance
like
Russell
somebody
was like I don't know exactly what he did, but he was in that same kind of like doing the news and stuff.
Yeah, I think he was actually in charge of the sports department, of the news department.
Yeah, he ended up being like, wasn't he like the director of programming at? Hold on.
He was, I think he was the director of programming, of what's his name show on Channel 17. What's his name? George Goulas's dad, Nick Goulas. When Nick Goulas fucked over Jerry Jarrett, and Jerry Jarrett took Jerry Lawler and half the company with him to Channel 5, and he took Lance Russell and Dave Brown with him.
Yeah, that's how important the wrestling was. That they took the weatherman and the office guy from one station to another for the wrestling.
Yep. Good old Channel 5. So yeah, we're gonna have no real main event matches this week. We're gonna have the Zambui Express, whose name I spelled about 4 different ways on this show. Jos LeDuc, King Konga, excuse me, I fucked up his name. And then Lawler, Dutch, and Idol in a 6-man tag. And speaking of all, sorry, go ahead.
I didn't even, well, I guess because you watched last week's show. I didn't get that it wasn't King Tonga. I thought it was King Tonga. I even wrote hashtag not my King Tonga because I could tell I could tell that it wasn't, it wasn't Haku.
Haku.
But
Did you know it was the
I didn't
Barbarian?
realize that it was Bob Marion. No,
Yeah. It was in fact
I
the
should
Barbarian.
have. Now that you mention it, I'm like, duh. Why didn't I realize?
Well, there's going to be there. Let's go to first. Lance is going to plug this Monday at the Mid-South Coliseum, and then we're going to get a Jerry Lawler and Austin Idol promo talking about a match with two guys that I didn't even know worked Memphis. Let's go to that. Well, let me press unmute this and then press play.
5 super main events going. We call it a quadruple main event, but that's because I didn't know how to say quintuplet main event or something like that. You be there Monday. Get your tickets today by 5 or all day on Monday. Here's a couple of guys that were there Tuesday, going to be back there Monday. The Idol and the King. Boy, I am excited about action Monday night, Jerry.
Well, I'm excited about it, too, because I wasn't too excited about the outcome last week in the big tournament, you know. I don't like it match to end in disqualification. I want there to be a winner, and this time we don't have to worry about that.
Right.
Sure, the Road Warriors are big, they're bad, they're tough. You saw it, 20 minutes of the roughest action that I've ever been in, Lance, and I'll be the first to admit that they do have a big reputation, and they are mean and strong and tough. But the Idol and I think, gave them everything that they wanted, plus a little bit more, and we're going to do the same thing. And as I said, no disqualification, no time limit. This thing may go for a long, long time, brother, before somebody finally comes out the winner. But I plan on the winner to be Idol and myself.
You know, I think that when the Warriors came in there, Austin, because of the tremendous size that they have, they just thought they were going to kick you guys all over and it'd be over in a matter of a few minutes and they'd waltz away to that title. Didn't happen that way.
No, but I agree with you. I'm sure that's what they thought, Lance, because they've done it everywhere else in the country. I mean, you can look at their record, and it's flawless, virtually flawless. Yep. But I'm telling you one thing. I know they're big, and I know they're bad, and I agree with you, Jerry. The toughest battle I've ever been in. And there's no doubt about it. These two superpowers are dead-headed on a collision course. And when they collide, and this time the whole stipulation is there must be a winner. You know what that means, Lance? We're talking about two superpowers with two super egos. We're talking about all the marbles. We're talking about everything going. You know, I've had reporters already from not only all over the country, but from all over the world, wrestling reporters that have called me and they said, I want to be the first one to get the scoop. As soon as that match is over on Monday night, I want to know who the winner is. Because there's no question about it, darling. Whoever wins this match will certainly be touted, will certainly be labeled the #1 tag team country in the world, and it's going to be you and me, King, because I'm ready for it,
Hey,
Jack.
don't you guys run off now, because I had some words on videotape from Animal and Hawk, and I'd like for you to see it right now. Let's take a look.
Memphis, Tennessee. You know, the last time you people saw the two little weasels, Austin Idol, is that his name? I don't even know. And the kid, like names, Jerry Lawler. Well, they were lucky enough to come out with a tie with the Warriors. They cheap shot at us and they jumped in the ring, so we both got disqualified. Well, let me tell you people in Memphis, Tennessee, something else. Next, was it Monday or Tuesday? Monday, February 6th. You guys are in for the beating of your life. You got lucky with the disqualification last time, but next time the Warriors get a hold of you, haha, baby, these... What kind of numbers did you pay that referee? What kind of numbers, Lawler, Idol? Paid him a few bucks under the ring or something, so you come out lucky. Well, let's check out a few other numbers since we're on the subject, like 23, 21, 58, and 60. What are you going to do with those numbers? Not too stinking much. When we get done with you two, it's going to look like we set your face on fire and put it out with an axe. What are you going to do to Mama then? You going to smile at her face? We don't have no Mama. No. We don't care. I don't want a Mama. But you can go cry to your Mama. We don't cry, because the Warriors never get beat.
Well, let me say this. There's going to be some crying after that match Monday night, brother. There's going to be some crying for sure, because just like Idol said, you're looking at two of the top teams in the nation right here, the Idol and the King and the Road Warriors, and neither team can afford a loss on the record. We don't plan to lose, Road Warriors. When that match is over, you're going to be doing some crying for the first time. That's a promise, Lance.
Okay, King and Idol, good luck to you.
All the way, King, let's get it.
All right.
All right, so I got to tell you, that doesn't sound very good to look like after the match that they've set your face on fire and put it out with an axe.
That's one of my all-time favorite Road Warriors lines. Love it.
Have you
The,
ever heard them say that before, or was this just now that you're turning that into your all-time favorite Road Warrior line?
no, I was aware of it. I don't know if it like I read it on like a list of quotes way back when. I don't know. Maybe he did
Hmm.
it. Maybe he said it in another promo somewhere. It was like
I,
I don't know, but I
I mean,
remember like forever ago. I thought that line was just fantastic.
I wouldn't be surprised if he said it elsewhere, because I mean, like, I who the hell would have thought that two schlubs would be playing it and talking about it 41 years later? Um,
My other favorite Hawk promo line was it was at Super Brawl 1996. Sting, Luger, we're gonna deviate your septums. We're gonna detach your retinas. And a lot of other really nasty things.
I liked, and I know this is stupid, but I always liked when he called Power and Glory sour and gory at
Yes. But
WrestleMania
like
7.
this was not yet a Road Warriors promo. There was no tell 'em Hawk or no well, but you still got like some classic like Road Warriors. This is
Yes.
Hawk is
I,
always
I
good for a good line or two.
yeah, I had to laugh at the beginning was they announced that the Mid South Coliseum is going to be 5 main events, but the graphic says quadruple main event because Lance Russell, who apparently puts the graphics together, didn't know the word quintuple until after the graphic had been put together.
Wow. By the way, I just want
Yes.
to point out that yeah, they're hyping a quadruple main event in
Uh,
1984. Just wanted to
you
point that
might
out to all the people
yeah,
who wouldn't quit bitching and moaning when AEW built a triple main event last year.
keep in mind WrestleMania 19 they promoted 4 main events. So, you know, AEW invented everything and everything they invented sucked. Don't you know that?
Yeah, that's really ridiculous.
Yep. By the way, do you want to know the results? Actually, we'll wait till the end. We'll go over the results of this Monday in the Mid-South Coliseum at the end of the show, especially since
All
we're
right.
sadly never coming back to Memphis. Um,
Oh,
so from here, we saw clips of the Rock and Roll Express versus the Zambui Express in what apparently was the semifinals of a tournament for the Southern Tag Team titles. The Zambuis won, and then we saw clips of them beating Stagger Lee and Norville Austin. They did twin magic to pick up the win. And at least this point, it's not like on TNA either this week or next week, where low key a white man and Elix Skipper, a black man, did twin magic, and the referee had no idea. This at least was two very large African American men that you could like, okay, maybe you could easily not be able to tell the two apart.
nobody has the balls to tell Loki that he's white.
Well, he's whiter than Elix Skipper.
He
Um,
definitely is. That's true.
Tag team champion Zambu Express versus Jin. Wow. Jim Jameson and Ira Reese. I had to laugh because Dave Brown introduced them and said, weighing in at 410 pounds on the right side of the screen, Jim Jameson and Ira Reese. Now, Zambu Express easily combined weight well over 600 pounds as a shoot. It's like Dave Brown did not have to reference which team he was talking about when he said that combined weight of 410. But
Well,
Jameson got pinned by a falling headbutt by Kareem Muhammad.
yeah, very one-sided squash match. It's kind of fun watching these big fuckers beat up geeks. And
Yes.
I like Lance and Dave giving their analysis after the match. Very sports-like.
Now I have to ask, because Dave Brown has a stopwatch and he tells you the time. Is he telling a shoot time?
Yeah, it's close.
Okay. Is it like so close where it's like, okay, maybe he started the clock when the bell rang and you waited half a second or something. It's like, it's understandable kind of thing.
It's really crazy how much variance there can be in stopwatches.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Laugh is obviously going to be a strong word, but I always like that, like Mid-South, the big deal with Mid-South always is that they have one black guy and he's the top baby face and he runs everything. And now we got Butch Reed, who's the second black guy who's been there for a year and he has to be the asshole heel. Mid-South, there were black guys up and down the fucking show. They were not limiting their, African Americans to one guy who has to be the top guy. And I think, I get it's two different areas, and Memphis is a lot more mixed than, actually New Orleans is pretty mixed too. But either way, it's like I like that you didn't have to have the one token minority that we push as the top guy to draw African Americans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They always had, you know, they had a lot of black wrestlers come through. They were never like the focus of the territory like they were in Mid-South.
Well, I mean, they were never gonna get anybody over Jerry Lawler, but like my point was, it
Yeah.
was never blatant where it's like, okay, we need to take one African American guy and push him ahead of everyone. This sounds awful, but especially in a few years when we're getting to the Snowman, it's becoming pretty fucking obvious that like we are pushing him because we want to push a black guy as the top guy. And
Yeah, that gets really, really blatant in the next several years in Mid-South. But and by the way, Memphis, if you don't know, people, listener, like pretty much everybody like who's ever been a wrestler of consequence wrestled in Memphis at some point.
pretty much, which makes me wonder why I was surprised to see the Road Warriors. I guess like no one ever talks about them in Memphis.
See,
Maybe they just don't.
I was aware of this. I was aware of this program in particular. I don't know why. I had just heard it reference the Road Warriors and Lawler and Idol.
Okay. So speaking of people in Memphis at this time, and this is like, getting to be almost an all-star lineup here. We got through Lawler, the Road Warriors, and now Macho Man Randy Savage is showing up to be very Macho Man Randy Savage.
Give me that up there. Macho Man country! Give me the microphone and get out of the way. Let me tell you something. Shut up! This is Macho Man country! I'm Randy Savage, and I'm the greatest professional wrestler ever to be in the world. NWA, Mid-American Champion. You know where you are right now, Lance Russell?
Settle down a little.
You're in Macho Man country, man. You're in Macho Man country, man. Listen, a lot of people out there would like to stop me, but they can't. No, they can't. I'm the greatest. Universal heartthrob is the universal geek. Dutch Mantel, you can't do nothing against me, man. You wish that you could, but you can't. You can't do it, man, because I'm too good. In fact, I'm real good, Lance Russell. I'm real good.
Nobody said you weren't a good athlete.
I'm the best in the world.
Man,
Ask Jerry Lawler.
Too himself, though. Hey, all right. Hey, come on now.
Don't mess with me. Come on. Macho Man country right here. Macho Man country.
Good suggestion from Angelo Popo. He said, let's leave these. Hey, come on, Randy. Boy, I tell you. Thank you. Yeah, I hear it, Randy.
So, okay, Macho Man living up to his name. He's a savage. Trae, I've watched 2 episodes of Memphis. I have a question that I hope you can answer.
All right.
What the fuck was Angelo Poffo holding? I've seen him. He carried it last week, and he's carrying it this week. it looks like a microwave with flowers sticking out of it.
It is a gift box with flowers, and then the belt is wrapped around it.
Jesus Christ, I was not even like I I'm wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I've been staring at this thing all weekend long, and I could not figure that shit out.
Yeah, no, I wondered too, so I paid attention during this promo, and yeah, you can see it's a box that looks like a gift wrap box, but it's got flowers, and then the belt, the Mid American Championship, I assume, is wrapped around the box.
Okay then. And by the way, at the end, in case you're wondering what Randy Savage was hitting with the chair at the end, he was hitting himself in the head with it.
Yeah, he was. This
I
see,
wrote,
I had heard that poor Lanny Poffo came from a bad family, but now I've seen it with my own eyes.
oh yeah, suddenly Mr. Wrestling 2, I agree with him wholeheartedly.
Yeah, right.
Um, I wrote, I think he's wrestling Dutch Mantel, but he got a promo on all three of our top baby faces. Um, from here we
Yeah.
see, actually, I'm sorry, Lance and Dave discussed last week's angle, which, like we said, was Norville Austin turning babyface because he decided Coco Wares had enough and the Bruise Brothers didn't. From here, we saw more of the tag team title tournament that the Zambui Express won. They really broadcasted this whole thing kind of weird. Lance called Stagger Lee and Norville Austin a swell little team, and they came out and cut a promo with their theme music playing, so I can't play it here. And then Norvell said that Jimmy Hart will regret letting Norvell leave the first family. And then I feel like I've heard this before. They said that they ain't here to play; they're here to stay.
I heard that somewhere before. Yeah.
Yeah.
I so that they showed the highlights of them in the tag tournament, and I just thought it was funny that like they showed a different clip of the Zambui Express match than the one that they showed earlier.
Yes. And I mean, they wrestled, 2 or 3 times that night. So, like, these matches are not going 30 minutes here. I mean, plus, can you
No.
imagine the Zambui Express in a 30-minute match? There's a reason they didn't go to Mid-South.
Yeah, you're probably right.
All right. So from there, Jimmy Hart comes in laughing at this whole thing. And he exposes Stagger Lee as being Coco Ware, in case you had no idea.
We've gone all of this time and have not had Jimmy Hart. Really funny, huh?
Let me tell you, first of all, I'm sorry I'm late to all the Jimmy Hart family fans over there, baby. Did I miss anything, Russell? I was wearing that cheap perfume. Is that you or was that those clowns? Let me tell you something, boys. You can play Michael Jackson's music. Norvell shaved his beard. He looked like a 45-year-old Michael Jackson. Out of here. Let me tell you what, baby. You can play Michael Jackson music if you want to play. But look, why don't you take this dime right here and go to my tailor down on Bill Street, baby, and get you some nice outfits made. Get you some tuxedos. That's right. I'm all right, baby. And some top hats. But, baby, when the music stops, and the outfits come off, you're still just going to be Coco Ware and Michael Jackson, or should we call him Norvell Austin? Now.
That's our knock for the day.
That's okay. Now, this is what I want to talk about. Once again, I'm sorry I'm a little late getting here, but listen, I'm very busy. But look, you have specials and you have specials, baby. Yes. But I have outdone myself on this next special. I hate people who imitate people. I hate people who steal other people's music. Don't you, Russell?
Yes, I really do.
But right now, fabulous ones, eat your heart out, because right now I'm going to show you a video on the sensational Rick Rude, baby.
All righty. So Jimmy Hart, so over the top. Like Jimmy Hart, like WWF and WCW was over the top, but like Memphis Jimmy Hart is just a whole other level, This
Yeah.
man, he was having an infusion of caffeine every week.
He's this is February '84. He's gone to New York before too long.
I don't think he gets there until the beginning of '85, but I could be wrong.
Uh, I know he's there by WrestleMania 1.
Yeah, because he's with Bundy. Um, but yeah, so what they don't mention it here. They mentioned it last week. But apparently Rick Rude has stolen the Fabulous One's theme song. Because this is
Oh.
you know, this song that Rick Rude's music video, which is Everybody Wants You by Billy Squier, is apparently the Fabulous One song, and Rick Rude has stolen it. And that's the joke here. Wikipedia, the always reliable Wikipedia, just says in 1985, Hillbilly Jim recommended Jimmy Hart to Vince McMahon.
This video was so much better edited than the ones on Mid-South.
Yes, and it's funny because like it was I wasn't similar, but it was similar in a way to the Terry Taylor music video. Here's a good-looking guy in very nice clothes, interspersed with him doing wrestling moves.
Yeah, but like this one was edited to where like, it wasn't just clips behind the song. It was edited to where like the clips were doing stuff in relation to the song, the beat of the song.
Yeah.
Like it was actual like felt like a music video.
Yeah. Exactly. It did not like Mid-South is new to music videos, and I think that's part of it too, is like they're going to get a lot better. But like right now it's very, it's very, first people doing music video editing kind of thing.
Because Memphis did that
now,
first, right?
What was that?
Memphis did that first, right?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
The music videos.
Yeah. Now, I got to tell you, I was kicking myself because I'm watching this, listening to this song, and I'm like, who the fuck else has this song? Like, I've been listening to this for a year. Who the fuck has this fucking theme song? And for some reason, I'm like, oh, it's Dirty White Boy. I'm like, no, it's not Dirty White Boy. Dirty White Boy's theme song is Dirty White Boy. It's fucking Primetime Brian Lee's his Babyface theme song in Smoky Mountain.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah. I think you probably didn't hear it because you came in just as he was turning heel.
I just always think of the scene in Scary Movie with this song.
I saw that one time, and I don't think I ever saw it again. I saw a Scary Movie.
It's really brilliant.
I got forced to watch Scary Movie 6, I think. One of the more recent ones with some friends. It's one of those things when your friends want to do something and you want to hang out with them, even if you don't really want to do what they're doing, you do it anyway. And that was what they wanted to do. So Jimmy Hart, after the music video, said he has better things to do, and he left. We go to commercial. We come back with the great Jos LeDuc and King Konga. And I wrote that it's more obvious this week that it's the Barbarian, but let's go to a wide-eyed Lance Russell with a wider-eyed Jos LeDuc.
But I am in the middle of two very large gentlemen, King Konga and the super heavyweight from Canada, Jos LeDuc.
How do you like my Spartacus, huh? Lance Russell, Buzz Sawyer, and Brett Sawyer. Their blood brother. Monday night, Jack. You're going to find out Monday night what pain and agony is. You're going to find out Monday night what power is. You're going to find out Monday night who you makers are. I'm going to bring this Spartacus in the ring with me Monday night. And Sawyer, both of you, you're going to wish that you never had showed up at the Mid-South Coliseum. Because when Spartacus and myself, the citizen of the world, the great Jos LeDuc, French Canadian from the great Canadian country. I used to cut trees, Lance Russell, at 72 degrees below zero. How do you like that, brother?
I don't like it, my friend.
You can't even lift your lips at 72 below zero. Everything will freeze. And Brett Sawyer, you'll be froze after Monday.
All right, we'll see it. Joe LeDuc, King Konga. You guys are doing the ring right here, so you.
All right, so that was not the Joe LeDuc promo that I thought it was. That's coming up later on. But yeah, a nice way, like if you don't know them, a nice way to introduce you to Joe LeDuc and King Konga. I will say last week's promo was a bit better because, like, I left last week's promo, wanting to convert to religion so I could say a prayer for his opponents. Because, like, he looked like the baddest motherfucker in the history of the world last week. Because, like, especially with the poor video quality, like, his scars were really popping. And I was like, oh my God, like, I would not want to be within 100 miles of this man.
Nope. And we'll
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go on.
With Joe LeDuc, who announced that he's from the great Canadian country, as opposed to the other great countries that he could be from, I guess. And I'll be honest, like, I wish Barbarian would have kept this look. And I mean, I don't blame him for not doing it because it's a lot easier to walk through airports with his, regular Barbarian look than it is with a kind of half-shaved mohawk and, the way his facial hair is grown out, etc. It's like that is not something that you can be and blend into the background.
Yeah, it's it draws attention.
Yeah. So King Konga and Joe LeDuc versus Robert Reed and Ken Raper. I was really happy that Ken Raper was on this show like he was last week, so this way I can make my hilarious joke about Ken Raper being unable to take advantage of people. Plus, to make it even funnier, he was pulling up his tights the whole match. And by the whole match, I mean all like minute and 10 seconds of it, because Joe LeDuc beat up Robert Reed. He held up Reed, and Barbarian came off to the top with a headbutt, and LeDuc dropped him into a backbreaker for the win, which was a pretty nifty finish, I thought.
Yeah, I kind of prefer these squash matches, just one-sided, quick, direct. Raper was in yellow and Reed was in red, so I dubbed them Team Mustard and Ketchup.
No joke about Ken Raper sexually assaulting anybody?
No.
All right. So let's go to the promo that I thought I was going to play the first time. Joe LeDuc and King Konga celebrating their big win here.
That's wild-looking King Konga, and there he is right there, partner of Joe LeDuc, and they are an awesome tag team.
Take your heart out, Lawler, and Austin Idol, and the Fags, and everybody else that wants to hear it. You just come here and take a good look at this tag team here. Spartacus and Joe LeDuc. Brother, I like my whiskey on ice and my women on fire. And take it all. Roll that film.
Powerful, yeah.
You want to see some power? Take a look. 14 people can't open my hands. 14 marks. 14 humanoids taking from the crowd. Can't open Joe LeDuc's hand. Brother, this is power. You're talking about power. And from now on, you are going to see power, Lance Russell. And everybody else is going to see power. Take a good look. Look at that. One man against 14 people. What can you say?
They're all pulling on the arms, trying to open Joe's hand, and I was there. It didn't happen.
Look at that, brother. You don't want to give me no championship match. Well, take a good look at that. If you can overpower 14 people, look at it. They're pulling at it. The harness is going to break in a minute. See that film there? They're pulling so hard. See, they blow up. They can't do it. Look at the harness. Nothing can resist Joe LeDuc. Nothing can resist Spartacus. Nothing can resist the power
Yeah, that
of the
was
French Canadian. Take some more power. Look at my head. Look at Lawler, Jerry Lawler. Power drive right on his head. That's his.
Oh, I'll never forget this.
Yeah, you were there, Lance Russell. You remember what happened.
That blood oath.
Yeah. We want power. We want money. We want everything. We want it all. We want everything that comes to us because we are the best.
We gotta
and
go.
You are the rest.
We'll be back with a six-man tag in just a moment.
All right. I need more Joe LeDuc in my life a little bit. See, this is part of where the confusion was because he said the same thing about the Fabulous Ones last week too. So like when he made his comment calling them the fags, I'm like, okay, Trae warned me, and he said it. So because you told me, I forget how you said it, but you basically said that something was going to happen that with poor old Joe LeDuc here. Now I got a question.
Go
You're
ahead.
good?
I believe I said that he just used a homophobic slur there.
Yes. And it's 1984, so I'm not saying it's okay to say it, but it's 1984. Now they show a test of strength with, poor Joe LeDuc breaking, I don't say he doesn't bring kayfabe, but using insider terminology, talking about how they pulled 14 marks from the crowd. I had to question, do you think it was 14 marks or was it 14 plants? Or do you think it was a mix of both? Because, I mean, if it's 14 marks, that's even more fucking impressive. Because they had 7 people on both sides pulling to try to open his hands up, and they couldn't. So if it actually was 14 marks, that's pretty fucking impressive.
Joe LeDuc was a pretty tough dude. That was the clips that they showed. They showed him breaking a glass vase over his head, and then they showed a clip of a very famous promo called the Blood Oath promo.
I was so sad they didn't play it.
Yeah, they didn't show the good part. That was when
the famous scene where Joe LeDuc had an actual axe. He's feuding with Jerry Lawler, and he talks about an oat. How in the lumberjack camps they make oats, and he's gonna make an oat to take out Jerry Lawler. And on live Memphis television, he begins grinding the axe into his arm to make a permanent scar to remind him of his oat to take out Jerry Lawler.
Mm-hmm. Fucking crazy.
But by the way, he's coming to Smoky Mountain. Just letting you know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. You'll probably forget it. You probably forget I told you this by the time he shows up because he's not here for a little while. But yeah, we're gonna see him on Smoky Mountain. Yes. But yeah, so they're gonna be wrestling Buzz and was it Bart Sawyer this coming Monday night in the Mid-South Coliseum. We get a 6-man tag. Jerry Lawler, Dutch Mantel, and Austin Idol versus Big Lou Winston, the Pink Panther, and the Masked Marauder. Now, last week, Big Lou Winston and the Pink Panther were a team, and I'm like, these are the skinniest, most perfect-looking jobbers I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, how did he get the name Big Lou Winston? His biggest first name, and that's why he's Big Lou Winston. Because, I forget who they wrestled last week, but like they look like little people in comparison.
Maybe it's like
jobber.
Maybe it's like Big Van Vader. He's Big Lou Winston.
There you go. So the Pink Panther is Frank Starr, and the Masked Marauder is Jim Dalton. Cage Match lists him as Masked Marauder number 1. However, the only Masked Marauder number 2 I could find was Gene Kaniski, former NWA World Champion, but he was Masked Marauder number 2 in the 60s, teaming with Bobby Graham. So I don't know who this Masked Marauder number 2 would be. Not that it ultimately matters, because we'll never see them again. Pink Panther Pink Panther wears a red mask, a similar style singlet to the one Jerry Lawler wears with the one strap, where the top half of his singlet is pink and the bottom half of the Pink Panther's singlet is blue. Oh well. This is the one we talked about, the expiration of time match, where there's like 20 minutes left in the show, and Dutch Mantel pins Marauder with an elbow drop, and the Pink Panther apparently did not get enough of an ass kicking, so he got in and got his ass kicked some more.
Yeah, I was so confused because Dave says time is short, and I'm like, there was 24 minutes left on the video, but I guess they had something planned that we had to get to.
That was like, did they empty out the studio? Because like they came back and Lance and Dave are talking, and Lance and Dave come back a couple times, and there's no crowd noise at all. And again, this show was live, so it's not like, oh, after the show, Lance and Dave went back and filmed this, they put it in post production. No, like this was Saturday morning at 12 o'clock Central Time. But yeah, we get shown the match they mentioned earlier from Mid-South this past week, the Road Warriors versus Austin Idol and Jerry Lawler, which is what necessitates this Monday's no disqualification rematch. Now, obviously, the Road Warriors never become all-time great workers, but the last time we saw them that we talked about on this show was last September, and they are two entirely different tag teams at this point. They are figuring things out, and they have improved greatly since September. And not only are they figuring out how to work, they're also figuring out who they are. And that's important. Now, this match, it was a long fucking match. Like, I don't know the last time the Road Warriors were in a match this fucking long. I guess it wasn't really that long. It was probably like 12, 13 minutes, but it was longer than I expected, I guess. That's what I'm saying. And eventually we got a crazy brawl outside the ring for a double disqualification. They had that, I don't know why I can't think of the fucking name of this thing, but they don't have guardrails in Memphis. They have like those things you see in movie theaters with the rope that goes in between the two that curtains off the crowd. That thing.
Yeah.
That got thrown into the ring at one point. Referees Jerry Calhoun and Paul Morton got beat up. Can we please get this rematch in Dallas? We're just going to beat up referees. Promoter
and yes,
Eddie...
that is Ricky Morton's father, Paul Morton.
Yeah. Eventually, promoter Eddie Marlin jumps up on the apron and begins waving to the back for people to come in and help break this up. And it takes like a full minute for anyone to come out. And I'm like, I wouldn't want to do it either. And at the end, the ring fills. Like, there must have been at least a dozen guys ran out. And these weren't like referees and agents. These were, wrestlers on the card. The Zambui Express was there. Coco Ware was there. Like, basically everybody we've seen already on this show all came in to try to break these guys up, and they could not break them up. This was like the worst pull apart ever because they weren't really pulled apart. They just kept wrestling each other while 12 underneath guys were failing epically at holding them apart.
Yeah. That was what happened. Yeah, this was interesting to watch because I was aware of it. Like I've heard talk about the Road Warriors wrestling Lawler and Idol in Memphis when they were really green, and I thought it was really good for what they were trying to do. Like Lawler built his whole career on these programs, working with Big Green Monsters. So like he knows exactly what to do with guys like this. And Lawler and Idol are like just outstanding workers. I was astounded at how good this match was.
Which honestly, I think I've mentioned this on the show before. Like, matches like this are why I'm surprised that Tom McGee never got a job after leaving the WWE again. Like, I guess he had a little bit in Japan, but it's like Jerry Lawler made a career and got rich off of wrestling untalented giant stiffs. Jim Herd was
Yeah.
hiring every former WWE guy ever. And somehow, some way, what's his name? Tom McGee never got the call. I was always surprised by that looking back.
Yeah. He
Um,
must have just
I was,
decided he didn't want to do it anymore.
I mean, that's possible too. I was, whatchamacallit, I was thinking that we weren't going to see the finish of this because we go to the match, they play like 9, 10 minutes of it, and then they
13
go back
minutes.
to, I'm sorry, how long?
13 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, they play 9, 10 minutes of it, and they go back to Lance and Dave to basically just recap what we've just seen. And I'm like, oh my God, they're not going to show us the finish. It's going to be the Mid-South. This is too violent to air on TV thing. But no, they just randomly had Lance and Dave talk about it and then go back to the rest of the match, which was wacky, but hey, I guess it worked.
Yeah,
And that's how the show ended.
it was. This was I like that it was this one. This was fun. I like the Road Warrior stuff.
Yep. I think we would have had more fun just in a preposterous way watching last week's show, but I think this was a better all around show.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
could have watched both, but then the show would have been even longer.
yeah, it's all good. It was better that we didn't. Um, but yeah, so that was Memphis. It was a fun diversion from the real life stuff we're gonna deal with next week because it's Death Week on the Something Else Podcast Network next week. Because I just did the Kurt Hennig TNA show. Because do you know David Von Erich and Kurt Hennig
No,
died the exact same day? Just, obviously 19 years apart. February
didn't
10th.
realize.
Yeah.
Didn't realize.
And so we're chock full of death next year on the Something Else Podcast Network. And thankfully, to the best of my knowledge, nobody died on around the time of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So we'll go one show next week without talking about death.
We hope.
Anyway, yes. But by the way, we have a few minutes here. Did you ever watch The Big Bang Theory?
Yes.
Did you ever watch Young Sheldon?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm sure you've heard, the complaints that The Big Bang Theory isn't funny and that Young Sheldon isn't funny. And I always disagreed with it. I actually think Young Sheldon was actually a bit better, especially because it didn't have the quote unquote live studio audience or whatever they really had. Have you seen
Yeah.
Georgie and Mandy's first marriage?
I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes.
That is not funny at all. It is.
Mm.
I've watched every show they've had so far, or every episode. I think they've had like 10 or 11 episodes. Because, like, hey, Young Sheldon, the first season, Young Sheldon sucked. So, like, I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. But it's like they bring back, the live studio audience or the laugh track, whatever the hell you want to say. They bring, and it's like, well, because Sheldon's not on this show, so they have to have a quirky character. And so Mandy's brother is
The
the
brother,
quirky
yeah.
character. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like it's not funny at all. And
Yeah.
it's like
I
I don't
was
even know.
I was a Big Bang Theory fan, like back in the day, and then I had never watched Young Sheldon until a couple of years ago. I don't know. I got into TikTok, and then for
Hmm.
whatever reason, TikTok just kept showing me Young Sheldon clips, and it just clip and clip and clip till I got into it. I'm like, well, I guess I need to go watch the show now. And then like Young Sheldon's
Yeah.
like kind of it's a better show. It's
Yeah.
really good.
Um, but yeah, Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, like I, it it needs, like, if it doesn't get a whole lot better really quickly, I can't imagine the show going more than 2 seasons. And to be honest, like,
I
if anyone other than Chuck Lorre was the writer, director, whatever, it wouldn't even make it 1 season. Like, it's that bad.
yeah, you think it's gonna get another season?
I think it is just because, you know, it's Chuck Lorre. So CBS basically puts the entire, network in his hands. And so I think they're going to at least give him another year.
Okay.
But by the way, and I know this doesn't happen until next week's something else with Cyndi. Um, this is why I script out everything I'm going to say, even though apparently say the same thing every week, because I called Cyndi Trae. Yeah.
Oh,
I was like,
that's
yeah.
funny.
And she's like, well, I could just let you and Trey do the show. And I'm like, no, because at this point, if Trey and I were to do TNA, we'd probably both die of alcohol poisoning. Um, and
Yeah.
but
One.
so anyway, before we finish things up, because we're approaching that 2 hour mark, anything you want to plug? You have the Oh My God cast coming up?
Yeah, the Oh My God cast, ohmygodcast.com. It's we had a new show last week and we'll be back with a new show next week. We're in the middle of our coverage of NWA Blood Fest, Blood Feast. I like Blood Feast.
Amazing how that works. You had a new show last week, and now you have a new show next week. It's like it's like shockingly that's what shows do.
Yeah, there's not a new show this week. There's because it's every other week.
Yeah.
It's last week and next week.
By the way, Rated R Supercast, here's your Edge news for the week. He's challenged Moxley to a match at is it Revolution for the AEW title?
Yes.
Yes. So that concludes your Adam Copeland news for this week.
Cope.
I usually forget to do that. But anywho, that's going to do it for this week's show. I've just done 4.5 hours of podcasts almost in a row, so I'm tapping
No.
out and I'm good. But thank you to everyone for listening. I hope you all enjoyed the show. I'll talk to you again in 7 days.
Bye.